Hi, this is Greg with Lionquestfitness. Now, in my last couple of videos, I talked about the importance of having a gun as far as no gun, and how a simple J-frame revolver goes places that other guns might not go. However, there's also a point that you need to take into consideration, is that you need to know the limitations of this firearm, and also that you know your own limitations with the firearm. So let's talk about it. Now, in one of my recent videos, I talked about Claude Warner's book, Real Shootouts of the LAPD, and these were off-duty incidents that were compiled between 2005 and 2019. Now, I had a gentleman who supposedly had been in law enforcement crawl all over me about using information from that book, telling me it was 10th-hand war stories. Well, no, it's based on after-action reports. It's actually kind of dry reading, although very informational, but after-action reports by the LAPD on their off-duty officers being involved in different types of shootings. Now, today I am going to tell you a war story, and usually I do not tell war stories, and this is not my story, but I'm going to tell the story of somebody else. And there's several lessons here to be learned. So let's talk. Now, when I was a young police officer in the 1980s, and I served 2 decades in law enforcement, I also, for the past 20 years, I've been teaching law enforcement as well as firefighting and first responder. But when I was a young officer, there was a book that was popular amongst police officers called Cops in Their Own Words. I believe that was the name of it. And it gave several different stories told by several different officers from around the country. But one really stuck out to me. And this story had to do with a undercover officer who was SWAT trained and was working an armed robbery detail at the Kansas State Fair. And if I remember the details of the story correctly, he was on stakeout. They were looking for a 3-man crew. By the way, and this is unloaded, but a 3-man crew armed with shotguns that were committing armed robberies in the vicinity of the fair. Now, our officer was armed with a Browning high power. Now, this is not a Browning high power, but a CZ P07. And it's closest thing I have to a high power right now. So I'm going to use this for demonstration purposes. He was armed with a Browning high power, 13-round capacity. Remember the time period, late 70s. An officer that carried a semi-auto was considered an expert. And this man was very proficient. And once again, he was SWAT trained. Now, he had to make a decision. The 3 robbers burst into the restaurant. He really wasn't expecting him because the restaurant was very crowded, and proceeded to rob the restaurant. Now, he had to make a decision. Should he risk hitting one of the bystanders or having one of the robbers shoot one of the bystanders, or should he react? Well, in this case, he reacted. He pulled his gun, and when the shooting was over, 3 robbers were incapacitated, and no one had been injured by stray fire. However, it did create quite an uproar and quite a scene with everybody screaming, yelling, etc. All right, and then something else happened. Now, unbeknown to our officer, as the pandemonium hit, he did not realize there was a small-town police chief eating dinner there with his family. And as soon as the shooting was over, the chief pulls out a J-frame revolver and starts screaming at the top of his lungs and waving his gun around going, "I'm in charge, I'm in charge, I'm in charge." Well, no, he wasn't in charge, and that's why he was panicking. Now, realistically, what should the chief have done? Well, he should have identified himself as a fellow police officer. I am armed. What can I do to assist you? And that would have been a plus. Now that story has always stuck with me about that chief waving that chief special around. And this is not the gun that you would want to face 3 shotguns with. And I'll be honest with you, even a semi-auto with high capacity, that might not be the best opportunity cost for you to face 3 armed robbers with one gun and a handgun at that. So I've got 2 takeaways here. Number 1, if you're going to carry a gun like this, you better know how to use it and use it well. On the other hand, if you're going to carry a gun like this, you better know how to use it and use it well. And always look at the opportunity cost. You know, deadly force is only when your life and the life of someone else is in immediate danger. Sometimes it would pay to be a good witness rather than to go into action. And this is Greg with Lionquest Fitness.